everybody, and welcome back to episode 14 of PWHL. The first round is over. Game 1 of the Walter Cup final is over. We are recording this on Monday. It is the May long weekend here in Canada, with Maya and I both being Canadian. Happy Victoria Day? Is that what we call it still?
Yeah.
We just call it the May long weekend.
May long.
May long. People go to cottages, especially in Ontario. Maya, how are you doing? How's things? How you feeling about the playoffs? What's going on?
I feel stupid about the playoffs. I feel mad about the playoffs. It is also not cottage weather here in Alberta. It has been pouring rain for like the last 3 days, but that is a typical May long weekend in Alberta. So it's good to see that we are consistent. Unlike the PWHL in the playoffs, because probably the good thing is I don't think we're the only people who are feeling stupid after the first round. Like, I really don't know that anyone saw this being the matchup. If you did, maybe you should buy a lottery ticket. But
go do something. Put it like a random parlay down or something. Like test the rest of your luck, take advantage, because wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is nuts. Like, I think I'm like at a loss for words, which is funny because, we host a podcast to talk about this stuff. But I'm shocked.
I kind of thought, it's playoffs, things are different in the playoffs, and like maybe we'll get one shock. And because of the way that the series went, like I was like, okay, Boston is that shock. Like Boston's going through. And then we got Minnesota as well, and so it's just like I don't know.
Yeah. I think when I look back at my predictions, I don't know if I said my exact predictions on the pod, but I think I tweeted like Montreal in 5, Toronto in 4 was my like initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think I downplayed how well Boston was playing since the break, right?
Yeah.
But then, like you just mentioned, on the other side of the bracket, Minnesota was a shell of themselves. Even those first 2 games of the Toronto series, like full control from Toronto. Like literally, like I felt like I was watching like I don't even know what I felt like I was watching, but it just like wasn't the team that Minnesota was for the first 2 months of the season. And it was just the team they've been since the break. So I thought, I was like, oh wow, like we're gonna get a sweep here, which like if I had to guess there'd be a sweep, it'd be that one.
Yeah.
And then Boston, I think I just downplayed how unbelievable they were from the break. And that's not to say Montreal wasn't great since the break. I thought they were decent, but like, man, Boston and Aaron Frankel's been the story Absolutely. In my opinion. And like also I would say depth for Boston was huge. We'll get more into that series in a moment, but the Toronto Minnesota series was the big shock to me. Obviously, so first 2 games, Minnesota not only did not get a single goal, but the shots, like, so low. Like, I'm actually kind of curious. I'm going to bring it up here in a second. But Toronto wins 4-0. Soup was good. Campbell was great, but, like, she didn't need to be spectacular.
No.
Right? She didn't need to be 50 saves a game, spectacular. Like, I think it may have been like 20 or like something like that. It wasn't anything crazy. Spooner scores the first goal. Water is also wet. I thought Turnbull might have had one of her best games of the season this game. Definitely. She had 2 goals. We had already talked about this game a little bit because we recorded last. Yeah. But like, I just thought their whole team played great. Second game came along. It was a little different. 0-0 up until, which was the talk of this whole series. It was 0-0, mind you, a lot of the time, actually. 0-0 up until, like 2.5 minutes left. And Jessie Comfort, which, great to see her, make a difference for a team. She's a rookie. She's a young player, obviously. Kind of a gritty kind of forward. Has been up and down the lineup a bunch. She scores with like 2.5 minutes left in the third. Heartbreaker for Minnesota. I think Hannah Miller gets the empty netter. And then Toronto's heading to Minnesota, on cloud nine. Like, they just played 2 of the best games, and the other team was a shell of themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
And really, like, I think that's, I just they just needed to get it done in the 3rd game. Like, they could have avoided this whole thing if they had just, like, stomped out any momentum, any home crowd, like, anything.
yeah.
But then they just
Okay,
got
I
away
just
from
looked it
them.
up. Game 1, it was a little bit more shots than I thought, but still, again, like, nothing too crazy. Minnesota had 26 on Campbell for the shutout, and then this game was Hensley, and
Mhm.
Hensley, there was 20 shots on her, but let in 4 goals, so not great. But, like, from Campbell's perspective, like, I don't know the exact, like, numbers of high danger shots to just regular fluff on net kind of
Yeah.
shots. Like, to me, they didn't seem too crazy. Like,
No. I
it
think I
didn't seem
maybe,
too crazy
like,
both games, but let's see what the numbers were the second game, because that, I think, yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. So Minnesota for Campbell's second shutout, 21 shots.
yeah,
Still
like,
great. Soupy was great. Soupy was strong. Soupy was so confident, you could tell. I had a friend of mine text me and be like, "Man, I don't know what Canada does with their goalies, because, like, Soupy needs to get Canadian ice time
mhm,
because she is playing
absolutely.
so good." This game they swapped it out. Or not Hensley, Rooney went in for Minnesota, which, in my opinion, other than the Spooner injury, which we'll talk about in a second, the Rooney switch was the switch of the series,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, because
TSN
even in this
turning
game,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
even in this game where Minnesota lost, Toronto had 30 shots,
Yeah.
right? And credit to Hensley. Hensley was unreal most of the season. Like, she literally was a big reason as to why they were so strong at the start here. But, like, you let in 4 goals off of, what was it, 20 shots in game 1. Like, if Hensley was in net here, like, it probably wasn't 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I
So
think that was a huge,
yeah.
boost for Minnesota as well, having her come
And
in.
then game 3. Oof. This was the big turning point. This was the TSN, Bally Sports Minnesota, YouTube/PWHL turning point,
Yeah.
because because I think this game actually might have also been on CBC, so CBC turning point.
Yeah.
Um, Natalie Spooner, definitely probably going to win MVP. Might win Forward of the Year. Um, just has been the rock for Toronto offensively and everywhere else. Goes down with an injury in the 3rd period. It was an awkward kind of, I don't even want to call it a hit. I don't put any blame towards Zumwinkle because it was
No.
awkward, and it was along the boards right in front of the Toronto bench. And she falls very awkwardly. I think it's her left knee. I can't honestly remember. And she crawls off the ice.
Yeah.
Scary,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
great,
not good,
awful to
no.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird hit,
Yeah.
like, I saw it, like, it also looks like Spoons might have caught an edge weird, like, there
Yeah.
are just so many factors, it was
It's
not at
also in
all
front of the
malicious.
bench too, and, like, from a player's perspective, like, I obviously have never seen ice and played on ice that professionals play on, but, like, from a player's perspective, that ice in front of the bench is not great, because
No.
you're hopping the boards, you're getting off the ice, you're stopping a lot. There's a lot
It's
of
snowy.
divots, and at this point, I'm pretty sure it happened towards the end of the 3rd period, or, like, the middle
Yeah.
point of the 3rd period. So, like, the shovelers honestly probably hadn't been out yet. If they have, like, they're not going to fix divots in the ice. They're just getting rid of snow. Not great. Awful, awful. You could tell right away. The whole bench's just demeanor changes. Troy Ryan's pissed, but I found out later he was mad because I think he got asked in game 4 on a bench interview. He was mad because he was like, "Why is a player crawling off the ice and play is still continuing?"
Oh,
That's why he was
interesting.
mad. So he
Yeah.
wasn't mad that there wasn't a call, because he even said, he's like, "I don't think there should have been a call. I don't think it deemed worthy of a call." But I think he was upset because he's like, "Why is this player crawling off the ice and the play is not dead?"
Yeah.
It just wasn't good. It was very scary. Scoring wise, though, all happened in the second. So at this point of this game, too, mind you, Toronto's trying to come back. It's 2-0. and your best player goes out. Also, a heart and soul player goes out, right? Because I like, if you ever met Natalie Spooner or even like sat in a press conference with Natalie Spooner, she is so kind. She is like so humble. Like, she's great. And obviously she does what she does on the ice. That's a huge hit for even like if Spooner didn't have 20 goals this season.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah, and I mean, like, then the narrative becomes like, "Oh my god, Toronto can't win without Spooner." Like, everyone's narrative, and, even whether you as a team believe that or not, like, it's still you are thinking about it the whole time for those last 2 games, and yeah, especially game 4, I feel like it was a 1-0 Minnesota win in second overtime. Like, I don't know,
That
you're
that
I
game was
just don't know.
crazy. I want to pull up the shots of that game because I'll be honest. I'm going to be so candid, so honest at the moment here. That was the most boring PWHL game I watched all season long.
I think only rivaled by the Boston-Montreal triple overtime game in that series. I was so bored.
Point. That's a great point. Yeah, I just genuinely thought this was one of the most boring games I've ever watched. Ever, and which sounds crazy, but like genuinely. So it ends up being a 1-0 double OT. I made a joke on Twitter. I was like, we're getting 4 OTs with the way this game is going. It kind of felt like it, I'm not gonna lie. 1-0. Crazy goal. Just as a quick note here, Claire Budarak, who, what a story. Like, hasn't really been, on the, like, I don't even know if she was a full-time player all season. I could be wrong there, but like, she hasn't, been the name to, if you were guessing who was going to score, if you said her, again, go buy a lottery ticket, go do something here. Liz Shepard's, though, right before that goal, tries to do a between the legs. The puck comes off of the boards and tries to do it between the legs. If that would have went in, I would have screamed. Got the assist, though, which was nice.
Yeah.
But the shots. First period, which, man, Toronto. 3 shots from Toronto, 5 from Minnesota. What are we doing? Second period, Toronto doubles it. 6 shots, Minnesota with 4. 9 shots each after 2 periods of play. I almost wanted to turn it off, but I had nothing else to do, so I wanted to watch. OT1 was a little bit better, but it just, oh my gosh, the third period was crazy. Toronto had 2 shots, Minnesota had 14. Wow. It kind of felt like that now I'm thinking about it, but Soupy, unreal. Rooney also, again, lower shots here. But Soupy there, 29 shots, let in 1. Strong. You can't ask for more of your goalie, especially in the playoffs. But you got to shoot more. And at that point, 2-2.
And I feel like that's just like the dagger,
Yeah.
Like,
and
if that had gone differently, I mean, not only would they have won, but like the momentum would have just been so different. But then you're going back home.
Yeah, you're going back home. You're going back to a sellout.
Yeah.
You're like we don't have spoons. We know that. Like we've played a game, at least one full game without her now. Like we know what that looks like. Like we should adjust. And I honestly thought Toronto played decent for the first 2 periods. I thought they played more like themselves. They had a bunch more shots. They also, their power play. Remember us talking about how good their power play was? They didn't score a single power play goal all series. All series. But you know whose power play did? The only power play to score was Minnesota's, and it came in game 5.
Well, and considering we were talking about before, like last episode, about how bad their penalty kill and their power play is.
Yes, and they improved. And I think that also comes with coaching and personnel and also watching film and all that, which obviously they did. But yeah, good to see Taylor Heisey back. I want to say she's back. She scores 2 in this one, I think. Yeah, she had 2 goals in this one.
An empty net, but still.
Yes, one an empty net, but Cunnin had one, and Denisa Kurzova had one. I think she's had a couple this playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just daggers.
And it really, it fell apart, and then it, fell apart hard in that game. As soon
Yes, it
as it
was
was bad.
Kurzova scores in the second, and then I thought it was a bit of a weak goal, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay, that's probably one of the worst ones that Campbell's let in a long time.
Mhm.
But 30 seconds later, Toronto comes down. Victoria Box got it on a 2-on-1 with Rebecca Leslie. Beautiful, perfect 2-on-1 saucer pass. I forgot they played at college together at BU. It was Leslie mentioned it at the intermission interview. Beautiful goal. It's 1-1. Anyone's game. Third period, it just falls apart.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they just
Tough.
piled on the empty netters, and that
there's
does
two
it.
empty netters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Reverse sweep, the first ever. Toronto sports, baby.
Yeah, literally. And
Man.
to add insult to injury, the team they chose to play.
Yep. Which, if you don't choose, right? If you don't choose, it's still Minnesota because they were the 4 seed. But still, it does add to it. It does add to it, and now Minnesota has to worry about dog care again.
Because they're still the away team. Yeah. Didn't hear a lot about that after that series.
No, I didn't. I think, it was one of those things. It wasn't that bad, but they complained, and I think it helped their narrative a little bit, which I love for them.
We love a
All
story.
right. The other side of the bracket here.
Yeah.
Boston.
Boston, Montreal. Yeah.
A sweep. Not a reverse sweep like the other side. A sweep. If you would have told me a team in the PWHL playoffs is going to sweep their semifinal series, it would have taken probably 3 teams at least for me to guess.
Yeah.
Boston.
I agree. And honestly, I think if you're Montreal at the end of this, it was a sweep, but it was so close, but it was not close.
They were all OT. And that's
Yeah.
a coin flip, right? It's a coin flip at any given point. I think where Montreal got beat here was not just depth, but the way the depth was utilized. Because if you look at the time on ice, it's heavy on both sides. There's quite a lot of question marks when you're looking at it, but it was very, very staggering to see, especially that 3-0 OT game. Jillian Dempsey's line was on for a goal in regulation, and then none of them saw over 3.5 minutes of playing time afterwards, which doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion. I also don't coach a professional hockey team, so take that as you will. But
then the person who does score the eventual winner of that game was also having less ice time, but she still got to play.
Fourth liner.
Yeah. The thing about that game for me, so like you said, the Toronto 1-0 overtime game was bad. This one was I just didn't think that anyone wanted to be there anymore, and I thought it was never going to end, because I was like, nobody really seems to be able to score. Are we gonna just go on until someone just dies?
Flip a coin, and then so first game wise, shots. Aaron Frankel, my goodness gracious. 54 shots, only lets in 1 goal. Mutant. Just unbelievably unreal. Game 2, the triple OT thriller. Not as, actually, it would have been technically more, but it was an extra 2 overtime, so it makes sense. 57 shots, 1 goal let in. And it's not that Debian was bad.
No, she wasn't.
But Frankel was... oh my god, she was unreal. I agree with you, though. It seemed like this game was dragging. Also, this was the game that Lexi Agia got her attempt to injure.
Yeah.
I thought that was
I
one of the
don't
worst
know.
calls I've seen in a very long time. And
Yeah.
I watch NHL playoffs and games on a regular. I thought that was one
Yeah.
of the worst calls I've seen in a very long time. Stupid, just ridiculous. So they lose a big piece of their forwards too, and they
Yeah.
still come out on top.
And the way
Shout
that
out
she
to
celebrated with them after, like,
I love
she
that
hugged
so
every
much.
single person coming off the
I
ice.
love that. The
I love
camera
her.
panned to her at one point too, and she just was like, "This was before Boston had scored," and she just looked like she was like, "If I'm in next game,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it everyone's problem." Like she
Yeah.
just looked like she was like so annoyed, which like she should have been. Um, Shout out to Taylor Winskowski.
Mhm.
She was a freak for the Pride in the playoffs. She
Yeah.
won playoff MVP, I think, back in 2021, or it was either the weird bubble season where they like paused the bubble because everyone got COVID, and then they like played the rest in Boston, in like another sort of kind of
Yeah.
bubble. It was either that one or the one in Tampa. I can't remember entirely,
I don't know. The
but she
Pride won
was
a
in.
lot of championships.
They did. In one of them, or in both of them, she was unreal. But in one of them, she won playoff MVP,
Yeah.
and I think this goal in triple overtime showed why.
Absolutely. And
She
another,
got
and like we said, fourth
unreal.
line
Yep.
grind. Yep. So
Also,
so
like
happy
Taylor
for her. But
Winskowski was a scratch a lot this year. Like
Mhm.
I remember at the Detroit game, Boston, Ottawa, I was in the press box and 4 seats over was Taylor Winskowski. So like
Yeah.
she throughout the season wasn't in every game. So she gets tossed in here, whether it's an injury or for whatever reason, and she hasn't left the lineup since. So, and because she scores this triple overtime goal, she
Mhm.
makes do with what she's given. Unreal stuff from her. Just an absolute dog in the playoffs and in
Yeah.
overtime, absolutely. And
And then the
Frankel, unreal again.
last one, Boston won in overtime again, and
Color me
yeah,
shocked.
yeah.
This one was only needed one overtime, and it
Mhm.
was quick. This one
It
was
was, yeah.
so quick. Like I just think they were like, okay, screw it, we're done.
We're done.
We're
Yeah.
we're not doing this again. Winner came off the stick of Tapani, which great play. Side note by Alina Mueller. I thought she's been great, and Tapani buries the rebound. This one was a quick one. Montreal shocked.
Yeah.
There it
And
is.
also,
Sweep.
like, I don't know, I really think that there was, like, a physicality. I mean, we said it last week, grit, to Boston's game that Montreal just did not have, and
Yep.
I definitely think that's part of it. And also, like, I don't think that I think we were talking about this last night on the Ice Garden Slack, but, like, when Boston starts the season and you think that Hillary Knight is gonna be fantastic, Hillary Knight was not fantastic this season, but Boston still managed to, like, be successful without her and figure out who else was going to be the people, and I don't think that Poulin had a great series, unfortunately, and I just don't think that, and I don't think Stacey really, like, was able to capitalize on a lot of her chances, and I think Montreal was just like, "Oh, no. What do we do now?" There's
Yeah,
only so
I
much
also think that
goaltending can
was like
do.
they just couldn't they couldn't beat Frankel. I think
Yeah.
it was Stacy. There was one game, I think it was the triple overtime game. She just
Mhm.
had
Yeah.
so many chances, and she just couldn't beat Frankel, and you could see her frustrations, right? And
Yeah.
like from a goalie's perspective, if you're watching like one of the better players in the league and in the world, like so frustrated that you can't beat you, like that's just pure motivation at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, I, like,
Yeah.
100% believe that the reason that Campbell bounced back this season and that Toronto went on that run is because she made, like, 3 saves on Poulin in the shootout the game before
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep. No, I
Like, yeah.
100% agree. Yeah. So finals are set. Just as we all predicted. Boston is hosting in a 5-game series with home ice advantage Minnesota, again, just as we all predicted.
Mhm.
And game 1 has happened as of this recording, and if you look at Minnesota's games, not very high scoring, and if you look at Boston's games, also not very high scoring. But this one, they said, okay, we're done with that.
Yeah.
Let's score some goals. It was a 4-3 win. for Boston. I didn't watch it in its entirety. I watched the last 10 minutes of the third, and then I watched some highlights earlier today. Did you watch this one live?
I watched most of it, and the thing is it wasn't that high scoring of a game until, like, they just decided to score all their
Yeah.
goals within, like, 10 minutes.
In the second period, there was no goals in
Yeah,
the third. There was 2 in the first, and then 5 in the yeah, that's hilarious.
no, I had literally so we also did a round table on this, which you can find on the website, but I had literally typed, "I don't think any of these games are gonna be, like, 6-5," and published the round table, and then they were like,
I
"Oh,
said,
we're
hold
actually
my
gonna
beer.
score 7 goals in this game." Yeah.
Crazy. Taylor wins Cassie with another goal. Hannah Brandt getting on the board too, which is great. And yet again, Taylor Heisey is back. She scores another 2
Mhm.
goals. Both were with a goalie in net too. There was no empty netters in this game. Good to see her. It's kind of scary to get her going, especially in this final series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then out of all players to score the winner, Jess Healy, good for her. She's been, grinding away in this world and in the women's hockey landscape for forever at this point.
Yeah.
Scores the game winner in the second. And yet again, Erin Frankel, again, she lets in 4, but she saves 29.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
she lets
3,
in
I think.
3, sorry. So
Yeah.
she saves 30 shots. Crazy. Good
Yeah,
for her.
it was good. So I predicted in our roundtable that this was going to go to 5 games, and after game 1, I still think that it probably will, maybe 4, and I think Boston will come out on top. What do you think?
I think Boston in 5. I think we're gonna go
Yeah.
the distance. Also, a little side thing: Mike Murphy from the Ice Garden,
Mhm.
our leader, our fearless leader. He had clipped this and posted a GIF of it. But at the end of the game, so every single game, even the semifinals,
Mhm.
all the PWHL teams shake hands, and in the history of hockey, it's usually like that only happens either internationally or at the end of a series
Yeah.
or the end of like a championship game or something. But at the end of the game, Kendall Coyne Schofield and Hillary Knight met at center ice. There was no handshakes. They had a little conversation, and it seems like both teams have agreed that they're probably not going to shake hands until the end of the series, which I love this. I love
Great.
this. Like I like the aspect of shaking hands in women's hockey. I've always liked it, but I think for this, it's the final series. Winner of this series is taking home the first ever championship in
Yeah.
this historic, unbelievable first year of this league. I love that. And
No
I think
friends.
for that reason, no friends, only enemies right now.
Yeah,
For that reason, they're going to continue to hate each other, and I think we're going to get 5 games. But I think
I
Boston will
agree.
come out on top. I think if you look at goaltending, especially, like, Frankel's hard to beat, man. But also,
Yeah,
if you're Minnesota, you're saying, hey, we just beat her 3 times, which Montreal didn't do, right?
exactly.
So that's
Yeah.
got to be also a like a handful of confidence for them. But I got Boston in 5.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, it's so exciting.
I know. So the following games, so we got game 2 in Boston tomorrow, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And then they got a few days off here for travel and whatnot. Game 3 Friday in Minnesota. I almost said Montreal just because it starts
So,
with an M, but
yeah.
it's in Minnesota. And then game 4, if necessary, goes Sunday in Minnesota, and then the final game 5, if necessary, will be the following Wednesday in Boston. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited. Definitely mark it in your calendars.
Yep,
Watch some good hockey. Yeah, it's gonna be
absolutely.
good.
All right. We might have another episode for you. Maybe if it goes 5, maybe we'll do an episode before that final game. If not, if this is done sooner, we probably won't talk to you until the champion is awarded, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But regardless, thank you all so much for listening, watching, wherever you are consuming this podcast on. We love you and adore you. And as always, if you have the means to, please consider a paid subscription to the Ice Garden. Helps us get paid, helps us hire more creators and writers and whatnot. And it kind of just helps us keep the lights on a little bit. All the proceeds go towards us getting paid. Not just the two of
And
us, but everyone.
no, everyone. And there will still be lots of content in the off season. The draft is coming up, awards are coming out. We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. Might be a little bit less, might not be weekly, might be every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or so, but we'll still be behind the mic for you. So thank you all so much, and take care and enjoy some Walter Cup final hockey. Bye.